You have probably seen it in a cafe. A latte so green it looks artificial. Matcha shows up in everything now. Lattes, ice cream, desserts, skin care. Most people assume it is just a trendy version of green tea. Same plant, different marketing. But here is something that might surprise you. Matcha and green tea come from the exact same plant. Same species, same leaves. The difference is not what the plant is, it is what happens to it, because matcha is the only tea where you consume the entire leaf, ground into a powder so fine it measures 5 to 10 microns across. You are not drinking an infusion. You are drinking the leaf itself. And that single difference changes everything. Powdered tea began in China during the Tang Dynasty over 1,000 years ago. Leaves were steamed, pressed into bricks, and when it was time to drink, flaked off and ground into powder with a stone mortar. By the Song Dynasty, monks were whisking that powder into hot water as part of their meditation practice. The caffeine kept them alert. Something else in the tea kept them calm. They did not know the chemistry yet, but they knew the combination worked. In 1191, a Japanese Zen monk named Eisai brought tea seeds and the powdered tea method from Song Dynasty China back to Japan. He planted them near a temple in Kyoto and wrote a book called Kisa Yojoki, Drinking Tea for Health, claiming tea could promote longevity and mental clarity. His disciple Myo-e Shonin planted more seeds in the Uji region, which still produces some of the finest matcha on earth today. Then Japan did something China never did. In the 15th century, tea farmers in Uji began shading their plants from sunlight 3 to 4 weeks before harvest, covering them with bamboo mats to block 70 to 90% of the light. This was not decoration. It was a chemical intervention, and it changed the plant from the inside out. Here is the thing nobody tells you about matcha. The flavor, the color, and the calm you feel after drinking it are all manufactured by stress. When you block sunlight from a tea plant, you force it into survival mode. The plant overproduces chlorophyll to capture whatever light remains, which is why matcha is so vivid green. At the same time, it increases production of l-theanine, an amino acid that normally converts into catechins when exposed to sunlight. Without sun, that conversion stops. Theanine builds up in the leaves instead. This matters because l-theanine crosses the blood-brain barrier and triggers alpha brainwaves, the same pattern associated with calm focus. When you drink matcha, you get both caffeine and theanine together. Caffeine sharpens alertness. Theanine smooths the edges. The result is steady energy without the spike and crash cycle of coffee. About 70 milligrams of caffeine and 36 milligrams of theanine per cup, working in opposite directions at the same time. After shading, only the youngest leaves at the top are picked, sometimes by hand. They are steamed within hours to stop oxidation, locking in the green color. Then dried. Here is where matcha splits from every other tea. The stems and veins are removed, leaving behind pure leaf tissue called tencha. That tencha is then ground using granite stone mills, spinning so slowly that one mill produces just 30 grams per hour. That is barely 1 tin. The stones must stay cool, because heat would oxidize the powder and destroy the color. The result is a powder so fine it feels like talc between your fingers, each particle 5 to 10 microns across. And because you whisk that powder directly into water, nothing is wasted. Every molecule the plant produced under stress stays in your cup. But the strangest part is the economics of what you are actually paying for. Japan produces roughly 5,500 tons of matcha per year and holds about 70% of the global market. But only 20% qualifies as ceremonial grade. The rest is culinary, the matcha in your latte and your ice cream. Ceremonial matcha from Uji can cost over 10,000 yen per kilogram. Culinary grade sells for a third of that. The global matcha market hit roughly $3.5 billion in 2024. A single cup at Starbucks costs more than an entire box of green tea bags. Same plant, different process, radically different price. Here is where the story flips. Remember that shading technique that makes matcha special? It creates a paradox. By reducing sunlight, farmers boost theanine but suppress catechins, the antioxidant compounds most people associate with green tea. Ceremonial matcha actually contains fewer antioxidants per gram than a cheap bag of regular green tea. But because you consume the entire leaf instead of discarding it after steeping, you still absorb more total catechins from 1 cup of matcha than from several cups of brewed tea. The whole leaf principle overrides the chemistry disadvantage. Next time you hold a tin of matcha, tap a small amount onto white paper. If it is vivid jade green, the shading worked and the leaves were young. If it looks olive or yellowish, the plant got too much sun, and theanine converted to catechins before harvest. You are reading the entire life of that plant in its color. Then try it plain with just hot water at about 75 degrees. Real first harvest matcha has natural sweetness and umami. If it is overwhelmingly bitter, the leaves came from a second or third harvest, not the spring flush. And if you drink it for focus, the caffeine and theanine synergy peaks about 45 minutes after your first sip. That is your sharpest window. Because the whole leaf sits in your stomach, the effect lasts roughly twice as long as a cup of brewed green tea from the same plant. And that is the real difference. Every other tea is an extraction. You steep leaves, pull out some compounds, and throw the rest away. Matcha is the only tea where you consume 100%. Same species, same farm. One is a sample. The other is everything. That green powder in your cup started as a stressed leaf on a shaded hillside in Uji. And the only reason it works is that someone decided to let you drink all of it. That's the process. We reveal how things actually work, one story at a time. If there's something you'd like us to explore next, let us know. Until then, trust the process.